Right?
Good morning. I'm great. Good morning.
At defensive tackle, where do you stand right now after letting Destiny go? Is Nada close to playing, and is Jernigan in the picture at all?
Yes,
Which one?
all the above.
So,
Right now, we do have a plan, but I'm not going to disclose the plan, obviously, in lieu of the game and game week and all that. But there is a plan. I've talked to Jim and Chris, and we feel comfortable with that plan. I would say that Nada is, he's getting close day to day still, getting better, and we'll see where he's at this week, obviously later in the week, and Tim just keeps progressing, we're hopeful and optimistic, but at the same time we want to make sure that he's healthy and his whole demeanor is for us to put him back out on the field, and his safety is first.
If not, I can't go this
Who's that?
weekend. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Who'd you ask?
If not, I can't go
No,
this
okay.
weekend. You have to make another roster move.
Well, we have a plan, and we're going to stick to that plan, and without obviously tipping our hat and all that, but Howie and I will have discussions later in the week if we need to.
Is Jernigan not ready to practice yet?
Not at this time, no.
It looked like Hester gave you some good snaps in there Thursday night. What did you see from him, and how big a piece of that whole D-tackle puzzle is he
Yeah,
now?
I mean, he's a big part. Obviously, we brought him in here to do that and to fill a role, fill a need, and we'll continue to progress with him, each and every week.
What's Jason Peters? Is he going to be practicing today?
Yeah, Jason, he's doing fine, and he'll practice today. Yeah. Again, he's day to day. We'll see where he's at later today, and just keep progressing him, But yeah, day to day.
So what did those extra tests show about Peters? Does he have a tear in the bicep?
It's definitely something that there's something there. He definitely can play. So there's no concern with injuring him any further or anything like that. But all the confidence in the world with him, and he'll be ready to go.
You have some older veterans who you were kind of relying on this year, and it seems like they've gotten hurt. Peters, Sproles, Corey Graham. Does that change the philosophy at all going forward of having those veterans, older guys, and relying on them a lot?
I don't think so. I think sometimes that it's kind of the expectation a little bit. You kind of know what you're getting with guys. And listen, these guys they've all contributed wherever they've been. Obviously, Darren, a couple stops he's been at. Jason been here most of his career. Corey, the stops he's been at, and these guys have played a lot of snaps. And it's one of the things where we know if we can just manage and get them through and each week and get them ready for game day, where they can give us valuable game snaps. I mean, that's what you want, but you kind of know what you're getting, and that's okay.
Did Peters injure his bicep on the last play?
Corey Graham, I'm sorry. Do you expect him to practice today? Is he ready to come
Corey,
back?
he's again day to day. Probably not going to practice today, just based on where he's at, but he is progressing nicely.
Did Peters injure his bicep on the play before he left in the Giants game? Or was that something that happened earlier?
Quite honestly, I cannot remember.
Doug, can McDougal come in and contribute? I mean, obviously he hasn't been with the team last little spell. Can he come in and get snaps, or does he need some time?
McDougal, I think, one comes in and is a role player, situational guy for us. He's got to get caught up, obviously, with the game plan and terminology again. And the one thing that I guess from his side and our side is we have familiarity with us. He was with us in camp and things of that nature a year ago, and comfortable with him, filling a need, filling a role right now, and we'll get him coached up and ready to go.
Jason Peters, because he's dealt with some of these nagging injuries throughout the season, have you given any thought to just sort of giving him a couple weeks off to rest and then have him ready?
No, there's really no need to. Jason, we have all the confidence in the world in Jason. He works his tail off each week, gets himself prepared and ready to go, and very comfortable with him playing.
Doug, after the Giants game, Zach Ertz said point blank, we're the Philadelphia Eagles again, the way the offense was going. Does it take a game like that to get this team with a little more confidence, get them in a little more of a rhythm after a slow start offensively to start the season?
I believe so, and I think one of the things you're seeing is the amount of injury we had on offense to start the year. Those guys are now getting their sea legs, so to speak, and their game legs and game shape, and being on time and in rhythm with the quarterback now, and so yeah, I think you saw more of a complete game, and what you also saw was we didn't have as many penalties. I think we had 4 total for the entire game. We didn't turn the ball over. We didn't have red zone woes. So those things are beginning to somewhat go away, and obviously we got to continue that trend. But I think it does take a game to realize that, hey, we are still, the Philadelphia Eagles, and we just have to go execute and play.
Is Lane Johnson okay to practice this week? I mean, with the ankle and everything?
He's okay to practice, yes.
Doug, we asked Mike Rowe.
Just wondering.
Yeah, he's okay to practice.
Is it going?
Since we're playing semantics.
Yeah, see, semantics. See, you do the same thing with me. We'll see as he goes. We got this walkthrough coming up, and we'll see where he's at there, and we'll just monitor it, period by period throughout the day.
Doug, we asked Mike Rowe about the play Carson made in the first touchdown, and he called it unreal, and he sort of made a basketball analogy where it's like, don't shoot it, and it goes in, great play. What was your take on the touchdown throw to Alshon?
I think it was two guys making a great play, quite honestly. Carson to avoid the rush. Whether or not he saw the penalty in the middle of the field on Ertz, I don't know. Possibly. And then Alshon working the back half of the end zone. Just a great throw back in the middle of the field, and just two guys just kind of making a wild play, in a moment where we early in the game after a turnover that kind of sparked us.
Doug, you're playing 12 and 13 personnel like half the time in the first 6 games. You're throwing it like 60% out of that, which is historically not what you use 12 and 13 personnel for. What's gone into the frequency and the success that you've had throwing out of it?
Just to appease you guys. Get our 2 tight ends on the field. No. I mean, listen, sometimes it comes down to how defenses match up personnel-wise with 12 and 13 personnel. We are very comfortable and confident with our 3 tight end sets or 2 tight end sets. And quite honestly, just, we've been able to run the ball. Teams want to play nickel defense. They want to play sub to that. Great. Then we'll spend some time running the football with some bigger people. So it's a chess match, back and forth, and we feel comfortable with our guys on the field and taking advantage of those situations.
So you saw tight ends kind of force them to play nickel? I mean, because of their...
I think so. I think because of the versatility, and now you're seeing Zach a little more displaced from the formation, or maybe the 2 guys on the same side of the field, things of that nature. So yeah, I think it. And then if they're breaking us down, they're going to see the same things that you just mentioned. If we're throwing the ball more or whatever it is, and yeah, they're going to play some more nickel defense.
You saw the value last year of bringing in Jay Ajayi before the trade deadline. You saw the value of bringing Jay Ajayi last year, and before the trade deadline, you guys are banged up a lot of positions. Is that something that you'd be open to?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that definitely we'll take a look at. We're constantly looking to add value, add talent if we can, and something Howie and Joe and the guys are constantly aware of and monitoring, and we'll see. We get closer to that deadline.
Not to say that the 2 things are tied together, but just to compare them. Last year, the Carolina game, that win, was the game that really showed people Philadelphia Eagles are for real. So how much does this Carolina game coming up, how much do you guys view that as a chance to show people that last week against the Giants wasn't the Eagles just beating up on a struggling team, that the Philadelphia Eagles still are elite?
Well, again, that was kind of the message last year, as you mentioned. 2 good football teams playing each other on a Thursday night game, short week, and gosh, I mean, just both teams played well. Defense played extremely well in that game. Offense made some plays, and we were fortunate enough to come away with a victory on the road. And this year, really, quite honestly, it's no different. I mean, 2 good football teams, 2 aggressive style defenses. You're going to see, RPO game by the Panthers. You're going to see 22, McCaffrey, kind of all over the field. I mean, it's a good test for not only the defense, but offensively. This is probably one of the bigger fronts we're going to see all season long, and they're very aggressive downhill guys. Kuechly's a smart linebacker, really anticipates and knows where we're going to be, and so it's going to be have to be a complete game if we expect to win. So yeah, it's going to be it's really a good test for us to see where we are, in week 7.
As far as the vertical passing game, you had Torrey Smith last year. The plan was to have Mike Wallace this year. How have you compensated for not having those guys? Where do you see the production coming in terms of the deep ball?
Well, we've seen Alshon a little bit more down the field. Nelson Aguilar, when we get opportunities down the field, he's shown up a little bit, and some of it's been on a couple of broken plays. Last week in the Giants game was one, not really a broken play, but an extension of a play. We get a little bit closer in the red zone, maybe a little more of our 2 tight end sets, things like that, or at least Zach, being able to, stretch the field just a little bit. But, yeah, I mean, it's something that we evaluate every week. I try to call as many as I can when I can. A lot of factors, protection and things like that the run game all have to be kind of on point, and for us to do that. But, we go into each game, trying and hoping, obviously, to gain some more. It's hard to go 12 and 14 plays all the time, 9 plays. You want to be able to put 5 and 6 play drives together, but you need a chunk in there somewhere.
You mentioned Alshon. Some of the injured guys coming back, Alshon specifically. As a play caller, how much easier it is for you to have that guy, especially with the back shoulder stuff, that you can just dial that up in a key situation?
I mean, it's definitely a little more of a comfort factor. It's kind of a especially for the quarterback, to have a guy like that on the perimeter, and again, mentioning the tight ends in the middle of the field. But it is definite. It's comfort. It's knowing where he's going to be. It's a big target, catch radius, all those things we've talked about with Alshon, and he's playing well right now. And just got to continue to find ways to get him the ball.
When you get a mini bye, what do you use those extra days for?
We self-evaluate a little bit on Friday, go back through the first, 6 games and just kind of see where we're at and any glaring tendencies that show up offensively, defensively, special teams, and then really just kind of shut down. Saturday, Sunday, watch college and NFL games on Sunday, and get geared up again on Monday. Thank you.